A camera happened to catch the moment the drone descended on the Kremlin and was blown up by air defences. The Russians say there were two drones 15 minutes apart at 2:27 and 2:43 a.m. and they're blaming Ukraine. At first light, security officials climbed up to look at the damage. Whatever the Russians claim, this wasn't an assassination attempt. President Putin's whereabouts are top secret, and he rarely, if ever, sleeps in the Kremlin. The Ukrainians know that. If they were responsible, which they deny, it might have been an attempt to show that Ukraine can strike at the heart of President Putin's power, just as Red Square is being prepared for the Victory Day parade next Tuesday. But the attack also plays into Moscow's narrative that Russia is under threat from Ukraine and the West. Remarkably, they'd already made no drone signs to be installed in Red Square this morning. Russian TV said it was a planned terrorist attack by Ukraine, targeting the Russian head of state. President Putin was shown unharmed meeting the governor of Nizhny Novgorod, apparently in his residence outside Moscow. The incident may help him sell the idea that Russia is the victim of this war and more men should sign up to fight. President Zelenskyy, meeting Nordic leaders in Helsinki, denied that Ukraine was responsible.
We don't attack Putin or Moscow. We fight on our territory. We are defending our villages and cities. We don't have, enough weapon for this. That's why we don't use it anywhere. For us, that is the deficit. We can't spend it. And we didn't attack Putin. We leave it to tribunal.
And yet Ukraine has been attacking targets inside Russia. This oil depot in Krasnodar was hit yesterday, reportedly by a Ukrainian drone. Ukraine frequently denies such attacks or simply says nothing. Last night, a train was blown up and derailed in Bryansk, just over the Russian side of the border, seemingly an attempt to disrupt Russian supply lines. Attacking Red Square, though, would be a significant symbolic escalation, just as Ukraine readies for its much-heralded spring offensive, and Russia prepares its population for what could be a long war.
Well, earlier I spoke to Mikhail Kasyanov, who worked with Vladimir Putin for 4 years as Russia's prime minister. Now he's a fierce critic of the president. I asked him what he thinks is going on and whether Russia could, in fact, be responsible.
Yeah, in a few days there will be celebration of Victory Day. In Russia, it is 9th of May, and Mr. Putin will have just the military parade. And of course, before that, he needs some kind of special attention. I guess that's the reason, to somehow consolidate people around the leader, that Putin fights with the West, and that is some kind of Western attempts to somehow to touch Russia, to hit Russia, etc.
The psychology of this is to portray Russia as a victim, is it?
Yes, something like this. People know, the majority of Russians know, or I mean, just educated people know that Putin doesn't live in Kremlin. He visits Kremlin twice a week, just for 2-3 hours to have meetings, not more than that.
Well, how do you think the Russian government might use this attack, whatever the cause of it was? How do you think they might use it now to further their campaign against Ukraine?
I think it will be used not against Ukraine. Against Ukraine, of course, it will be propaganda. Will show again that is we have to be consolidated and to be around our leader. But I think in a practical application, that could be used just to strengthen, to make even harder just the control system in Moscow streets. In Moscow, they can use it to strengthen the regime prior to the day of 9th of May on this military parade and all these demonstrations.
So if, in your view, it's aimed very much at a domestic Russian audience, how do you think the Russian people will respond to this?
In fact, there will be a new wave of mobilization of conscripts, and I think just that will be also as kind of justification that we need Putin's Russia needs to win this war, and we need just another attempts, etc., etc.
And the fact that Putin needs to do something like this, if this is what has happened, does that suggest to you that the war isn't going his way in Ukraine, that he's not as powerful as he might like to portray?
Well, everything goes in this direction. That's already clear. And even for people in Putin's circle, it's clear that they are losing the war. And in fact, they're all expecting and very nervous about just upcoming counter-offensive operation of Ukrainian army. They don't know to what extent that will be, how just large that will be, and what will be the result.
You've worked with Putin yourself a long time ago, but you have worked with him. I wonder if you could take us inside his head. What might he be thinking? What might he be planning next?
I think just for him, it's important thing just to survive, I would say, with the whole situation this year. And the end of the year, he should nominate himself as a candidate for presidential elections. And for the next year, I think that will be already a different scenario, because Putin understood that he lost the situation and he building up the scenario. I think just in 1.5 period of time, 1.5 year of time, we will see that Putin will leave Kremlin.
Will he be admitting defeat, or at least a loss of power to himself, or will he not? Will he be in a state of delusion in a way?
Yes, he will be doing his best not to be seen as defeated. I think that will be propaganda will work on that, because for Putin, for himself, psychologically, that's not possible to admit that he is defeated.
Mikhail Kasyanov, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.